Welcome back, ghouls and goblins. Thank you all so much for taking the time to support the channel. I hope you're having an absolute magical day. Discussing the top 10 free-to-play and budget-friendly cards for Magic the Gathering's latest expansion, Streets of New Capenna, available now at your local game store for a pre-release event, and also available within Arena and Magic Online in just a few days, which is super exciting. So, the top 10 most powerful cards available to everyone without spending those wild cards, or at least not the ones that matter, right? Those rares and mythics. Let's get in to the list, but before we do, make sure to smash that thumbs up. Alrighty then, here we go. First cards, Mage's Attendant. 3 mana, 3/2, Cat Rogue, and when it enters the battlefield, we get to create a 1/1 blue wizard creature token with the ability to pay 1 generic mana, sacrificing that 1/1 to counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. This is a pretty decent card within mono white, giving us access to counter magic, which is pretty gosh darn ridiculous, and it is an uncommon, which is very, very fun. Moving on to the Goldhound for 1 mana, a 1/1 artifact creature treasure dog. Now there's a lot to take in there. It also has first strike and menace, which is very exciting. You can sacrifice it to add 1 mana of any color. So first off, this is a treasure which will synergize very well with Goldspan Dragon. Not that that's budget, but it's a turn 1 ramp spell that's actually a fairly decent creature, right? The menace first strike is not bad, and the fact that it can, ramp you into something more powerful later is ridiculous as well. So the Goldhound, very, very nice. The Exhibition Magician, I just love saying this, for 3 mana, a 2/1 human wizard, and when it enters the battlefield, you get to choose one. Create a 1/1 green and white citizen token. So, again, 2 bodies for 3 mana, fairly decent. Obviously, we're not countering any spells here, but it's still good. And we can, or I should say, we can create a treasure token, which is fantastic. The ability to ramp you into more expensive spells on your next turn, and to also fix your mana pool or mana availability if you have a strict deck. Slip out the back for 1 mana at instant speed, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and then it phases out. This is fantastic. Very nice for the tempo builds, great protection. In my opinion, a little bit better than Fading Hope if you're looking to be an aggressive deck, which many tempo decks are, because now you don't have to respend that mana to cast the card of your own that you bounced with Fading Hope, but you still get to dodge removal, and you make your creature even stronger with that 1/1 counter. So slip out the back, an absolute fantastic card here as well. Fatal Grudge for 2 mana, sorcery speed. Nice removal. The bad thing, and it's not necessarily that bad, is that you'll have to sacrifice a permanent that shares a permanent of the type that you'd like to remove. And the good thing is that we'll get to draw a card. So pro, it can remove anything. Con, you'll have to have a matching permanent type to remove it, which isn't always super easy, right? You have to have Planeswalker to remove a Planeswalker, which is kind of weird. But where this does become more prevalent is, okay, I made a token, maybe through my anvil, right? And now it's a token creature. We can sacrifice that creature to remove one of your creatures that hopefully, wasn't a token and holds more value. Plus, we get to draw a card, so, just an incredibly powerful, well-positioned removal spell. Speaking of removal spells that are well-positioned in this meta anyways, Call in a Professional, 3 mana, instant speed. Players can't gain life this turn. Okay, so right out of the gate, that's fantastic. Damage can't be prevented this turn. What? And then deal 3 damage to any target, which is very, very nice, right? So, shield counters are around. We can get through that as damage can't be prevented. Lots of interesting things here. A very, very playable removal spell. And, again, within those budget rarities of common and uncommon. This is pretty goofy. Jewel Thief for 3, a 3/3 with Vigilance and Trample. When Jewel Thief enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. So, we looked at the Exhibition Magician, which was cool. It was a 2/1, and you could potentially make a treasure or a body, which is nice. But this is a 3/3 with Vigilance and Trample, plus you get the treasure token, which is, absolutely goofy, and it's a common. This is such a fantastic card. Moving on to the unlucky Winess for 1. This is a 1/1 human citizen, and when it dies, we'll exile the top 2 cards of our library, and then until the next of our own end steps, we may play one of those cards. So again, a nice way to, have an early field presence that you can potentially, utilize through sacrifice effect or something, maybe even just a chump block, right? And then propelling ourselves through the deck through that ability is really, really good. And then the Faerie Vandall for 2 mana. This is a 1/2 with flash and flying, which is fantastic, right? So this is going to go in literally every single tempo deck. And whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Faerie Vandall. We have the new mechanic Connives in the format. So obviously that's going to allow us to draw multiple cards per turn relatively consistently. And just a great card in general within Faerie Vandall because it gets bigger and it gets better every turn. And of course, the flash flying doesn't hurt either. Bis Score, strictly better than Windfall. You don't need the double red. It still costs 4, but just 3 generic instead of 2 generic, 2 red. At instant speed, again, discard a card as an additional casting cost, and then draw 2 cards, create 2 treasure tokens. Wow, we've seen the Windfall just, be used in the most competitive decks, like the World Championship deck. I'm almost positive you Goldspan, right? Last year. So, and with the Windfall. So now we get a strictly better version of that Windfall, and potentially now people are going to be running 6 to 8 copies of it, which is very scary. Especially like we said when it's put with Goldspan Dragon. And then we're back to the Mage's Attendant. So that is our top 10 free to play. There are some notable mentions that I want to go through here. And the reason that these multicolored cards did not make the top 10 list is A, many of them aren't as good, but B, the mana requirements to consistently cast these cards are very strict. And as a free to play and budget list, even though they are uncommons, they're going to be very hard to consistently use because the required mana base will be obviously rares, the triumphs, the pathways, things like this, right? So the Brazen Upstart, fantastic. This is a 4/2 with vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, you get to grab another card, which is pretty ridiculous, I'm pretty sure. And then the Magpie, again, 2/3. When it enters play, you exile a creature that each player owns until it leaves the battlefield. Yours comes in with a +1/+1 counter on it, 2 of them, which is pretty ridiculous. The Nimble Larcenist, this is going to grab an instant sorcery or artifact from their hand, permanent exile. That's really nice, right? The Crew Captain, a 4/2 with haste, indestructible if it entered the battlefield. So aggressive. The Corpse Appraiser, exiling a creature from a grave. If you do so, look at the top 5 cards. Let me super image this. Look at the top 3 cards of your library and put one of them into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. So that's very good. And then, of course, all of the charms here as well are absolutely fantastic, but they require the mana to cast them consistently, which is a bit of a bummer. The Cabaretti charm, the Broker's charm, the Obscuria charm, the Riveteer's charm, and the Maestro's charm, all having very high versatility through the multiple modes that you can pick. However, they are fairly expensive for that single mode if you compare it to a card that would do the similar thing, but you don't have access to the other modes. So it's like, okay, I have very high versatility, but my cost is a little bit more as well. So again, I really do like all these cards. They're fantastic uncommons, but again, it's going to be something that you will need the mana base to be playing consistently, in my opinion. And that is why we rank them a little bit lower on our list of free-to-play and budget cards. But nonetheless, fantastic with the 3-color creatures and the 3-color charms being very good for your build if you can have that mana fixing. And again, we looked at Jewel Thief, we looked at the Goldhound, we looked at the Exhibition Magician, right? So there's plenty of ways as a free-to-play player that you can fix that mana and start to utilize some of these more strict cards within your deck. But before you use these, you'll need to fix your mana, and that's why those cards are ranked a little bit higher. Cheers. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I appreciate you. I hope you're having a magical day. big shout out to everybody who's helped us recently on our spreadsheet. I'm going to pull that up here for a second just to showcase it, because we have put in so many freaking hours in this thing. We've mapped out the whole limited situation for the different archetypes. We've done your pick priorities. We've done the archetype, priority basically of which one we think is stronger. We've got our pros and cons, our thoughts for each of them as well. And then we've been making decks. We've been making decks. Here's the top 10 budget. Ooh, my top 10 constructeds here, if you want a sneak peek on that as well, of course. And then 30 plus decks for standard constructed when the new set drops, which is freaking ridiculous. So we have been busy. You can see there's some people browsing the spreadsheet here as well. I have the link for that in the description below if you're interested in checking it out, and I really recommend you do, because you're going to dominate your pre-release events if you've got a good grasp on everything, because there's some good cards here as we've just seen in the top 10. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a magical day and are as excited as I am, because I'm officially allowed to announce that we have access to the pre-release event for Arena on Twitch starting on, I believe, the 26th, which is super exciting. And we're going to be showcasing some of these new decks there. So again, can't wait to see you. It also aligns with our 3-year anniversary on YouTube, creating Magic the content. So a big celebration planned. Still ironing out the details. Have a magical day, you guys. Thank you all so much. We'll see you soon in the next. Make sure to like the video. Bye-bye.